Welcome, Moonbreakers. This time we see Fun versus Vellv. Fun, pretty much as always, playing Astra, starting in the bottom of the map here, and Vellv with Severi. We're in the first turn, and you can see Fun is jumping forward with Astra, kind of what you would expect. And then I feel like the biggest question for Astra is always, does she use the Cinder Sphere to move, or does she grow Cinder in the first turn? You can also see in Vellv's first turn there was actually no deployment, so Vellv saved up leadership. And then Fun has a really interesting unit here, and that is Sludge Sprayer. Now, I haven't seen Sludge Sprayer very often, but it is a quite interesting unit, and I feel like against Severi, it's actually a pretty decent unit. I think there are a lot of matchups where Sludge Sprayer is not necessarily great, but in this matchup, I think I really like him. And yeah, there's the first sludge pile. Starting to block the path, and an Astra is also jumping forward to block the way here. About the Astra position here, I don't like it, because you can already see Vellv is trying to see where he can go with Severi, and there is actually a lunge into Sludge Sprayer possible, or not into Sludge Sprayer, but the AoE will hit Sludge Sprayer. So I think Astra should have jumped more to the right here towards the vent, because yeah, this way she can potentially stop the launch from happening. Maybe the sludge pile could have been placed a little bit more to the right, but I mean, those are details. And then there's also something interesting here. You can see Vellv has Aria. You could just see that deployment for a second. And because it was an ambush unit with a small base that can only be Aria, so that already gave it away. So whenever you want to deploy, don't click on ambush units unless you're sure you want to deploy it. And yeah, that was the launch that I talked about. Right into Sludge Sprayer. The Sludge Sprayer has a decent amount of health, to be honest, so it's not too bad. But I feel like those 2 points of damage here were probably avoidable.
Time was ticking.
And then we also see Edsley here. Edsley is really nice with Severi since you use all your Cinder anyway, and yeah, Edsley is going for the control point here. Also quite a bit of damage on Astra this turn. She only has 22 health right now. And at this point though, Sludge Sprayer can block the middle of the map, which I think is pretty powerful. And you can also see Fun is kind of thinking what he should do here, but usually with this list, Fun is playing for victory points, and that means he kind of wants to go for crew kills usually. The problem is that Edsley is, well, a little bit out of range right now to really kill him, and he doesn't have enough leadership, so he just drops Snareling, which is a really interesting choice, because this way, yeah, Edsley can't run away. So Edsley is pretty much guaranteed to die next turn. And we also see a second sludge pile here. And then a small move from Fun that I don't agree with. Fun moved to the left here. And the thing is, he's playing against Severi. And every Severi has some form of displacement usually. And Quetzali is also quite common. And I think this puts Sludge Sprayer just at risk. Because once there's any form of displacement or any way to help with movement, moving to the left here just means, yeah, Sludge Sprayer is at risk. So I think it would have been better for Sludge Sprayer to just move to the south of the map. Of course, if there's a Chuck at Co, for example, Chuck could just toss Severi, and then the sludge piles don't help you, so there's also a problem there. But I think going to the left here was not a great idea. And then it's Fun's turn again. And this time he's definitely going for the kill here on Edsley. The only question is basically how. He has a lot of cheap units in his list. You can see Savia here, Deadeye, Detonia, Torian, all 2 and 3 leadership options. The thing is, the more expensive units here, I mean, you could potentially deploy Antios, but the thing is, Astra really wants a lot of Cinder, so deploying many small units here is way better for Fun. And all those small units, they get a job done. Plus, if you poke multiple times for 2 damage, you get the double movement here for Astra, which is always nice. You can see it here, Astra moves once, punch, kill Edsley. And then there was a tiny misplacement here by Fun. You can see Snarling can't move up through the gap. The Tonya is blocking it. That's a little bit unfortunate.
My dad would not approve.
And Astra's moving towards the cinder pile, and you can see there is a really annoying thing happening for Fun. It showed the line of sight there for a second. I don't know if he moved his mouse there in the last second or if it was bugged, but he couldn't reach Quetzali there. He really wanted to snare Quetzali. And then Astra moves towards the top to test the victory point, or the control point. And yeah, this is such a shame. I mean, I think the hit chance wouldn't be great at this distance, but it's still really sad. And I think, yeah, Vellv is moving Quetzali here, but only a tiny bit because he wants to stay on the control point. But the problem with this is, because of the small movement, Severi doesn't get in Quetzali range with her own movement. So now Vellv drops Crankbait to pull Severi. Here's the thing. Quetzali only moved a tiny little bit so that Quetzali stayed in the control point, right? But I think in this situation, it would have been better to give up the top control point and ensure the movement with only Quetzali, basically. Because this way, leadership had to be spent and also Cinder had to be spent to move Severi. If Quetzali moves down, then you can take the control point down here. You basically can either still duel because you have a little bit more range to move, so the launch wouldn't be needed. And there would also be 5 leadership available to deploy unit and kill something down there right now. And I think that would have been more valuable than that 1 3 point up there, or contesting a control point up there, basically.
Who's next?
And now Fun has to make a choice. You can see he is measuring different ranges here, and he essentially has 2 options. He can try to kill Quetzali this turn, or Crankbait. Both are annoying units. He has 5 Cinder available, so there are quite a few options. For example, the Tonya plus Deadeye would be 2 Cinder, right? Yeah, and that would be 4 damage. And then he also has Antios on the list, for example, so 9 damage would be possible in Quetzali at this distance. But as you can see, he doesn't focus Quetzali, instead he goes for Crankbait, which I find interesting, and I'm really not sure which one is the right choice. The thing is, Quetzali is a little bit out of position right now, but both definitely have to die, right? Like, both are displacement options and you just can't leave them on the field. And you see Antios comes down, punches Crankbait into the ground. Then we have 1 more attack on Astra here, hitting the Quetzali and also deploying a Cinder Sphere. The Tonya is left at 1 health here, so she isn't looking too healthy. And yes, she's basically dead to anything at this point. Down there we have 3 units. These 3 units are really close together, so if there's any AoE in Vellv's list, it's potentially risky. And Vellv also has 3 Cinder available, so Severi can use her dual ability on any of those units, except for Antios. Antios is pretty much out of range here. Actually, Severi could walk into Quetzali range and kill Antios here. Maybe that would even be the right move. I'm not sure.
Journey awaits. Now that's entertainment.
But I think it would have been a better move, now that I think about it. Yeah, I think Severi should have moved actually with the help of Quetzali and kill Antios. Or kill Snarling. I think both of those are priority targets. Killing Deadeye here. Like, Deadeye is a really good unit, but I think she is not a priority target here. Then stealing the Cinder Sphere up there. I really like that move. The only thing about stealing that Cinder Sphere is there aren't a lot of units for Astra on the board right now.
Why did we break
And
these again?
maybe the damage would have been better on, yeah, either Snareling or Antios down there. There's so much movement with Quetzali. Taking the Cinder Pile, it's a really nice position for Hidden Run, honestly. Cinder Piles, these days, they take pretty long to blow up. Most of the time it's not worth blowing up, and the additional Cinder for Severi is just so good. And here we see 2 more units. Essentially 2 small units, again, mostly for Cinder generation, but also really, really good defensive units. Savria and Torian here. They can survive for quite a while, and they can cause also really trouble for Severi, so yeah, really nice units. And then we still have Antios and Snareling at the bottom of the map, and the thing is, what you want to do here is, essentially you want to split up your units. The problem is you can't outrun Severi with Snareling in this turn, so the best thing Snareling can do here really is snare Hidden Run. And yeah, go as far to the right as you can. In general, if your opponent has any strong melee unit or a strong melee captain, like whether that's a crew or like it could also be a Tibu or whatever, you want to try to split your units up so that that melee unit takes as long as possible to get close to your units. And you can see here, like Vellv tested with Severi the range there real quick, and she was not in launch range. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure Antios would have died if Severi could reach the target. But this way, Severi can essentially duel the Snareling, and I think it's pretty reasonable to do that. She's gonna take 1 damage. And then we see Nuisance here moving forward a little bit, and the Nuisance just didn't move far enough forward. Generally speaking, it is a good idea to contest the point, but in this case, Severi was still standing at the point, so she didn't have to stay there technically. But I do like the play with Atostia, like the cow. I always forget her name. I really liked it, but the sequencing was not perfect. Nuisance could have shot before the cow was dropped. And then yeah, you can see the duel on Snareling here. Hidden Run couldn't move, so there wasn't much to do, but at least Hidden Run provided Cinder, so that's pretty nice. Then yeah, Snareling dueling Severi, which is the end of Snareling. And here Fun has a few nice options. Fun has 6 Cinder, so potentially he has the option to double pump Antios if he wants to. But I don't really like this move, I think. Another option here, like essentially he only punches once with Antios, and then he gets Pyro down. But I feel like, oh, and he also gets Stitchy down, right? Yeah, he's getting Stitchy down first, healing. But you can see Savria's range here, and Savria could have moved down to the to Tostia and punch her once because she has the shield. Then it would have been possible to deploy the Sentinel, shoot with the Sentinel twice, and the Sentinel would have dropped Nuisance to 1. And at that point, Atostra would be at 1 health, and then Antios could have finished her, because Antios was already touching, and Antios could have still run away. Would have left you with a low health Antios. But Astra could have also then finished off Nuisance, and overall, I think killing Nuisance there would have, like, or killing 2 units would have had quite a bit of value. That being said, once you deploy the Sentinel, it's deployed, right? And having it at the middle point there can potentially be bad. It really depends on how the game plays out, right? But I think overall I would have liked that move a bit more. But then again, it's the power of hindsight, so it's really easy for me to say. However, this way, Fun has the upside that he actually has a Cinder Sphere on the ground, which is always nice to have. Like whenever you threaten additional Cinder generation, or the 3 additional Cinder from a Cinder Sphere in the next turn, it's a really big threat. You can also see here, Fun has 5 units on the board and only 1 on the bridge, while Vellv has 2 on the board and 4 on the bridge, so both players have 6 units left. But they're kinda getting to the point where they, well, roughly half the units have been deployed, and you can see for Fun here, most units are really squishy. There are a lot of Savria shields here, but all these units don't have big health pools, so as soon as something drops that has a decent amount of damage, those units will die. And yeah, hit and run moving forward to enable deployment. The problem here is everything is shielded, but Nuisance is removing the shield. And there comes that beautiful Phoenix. Dealing a decent amount of damage. Pyro was shielded, so yeah. Pyro essentially unharmed. But 3 damage plus the burn. It's a really powerful attack. And then yeah, Nuisance is trying to find a position to go to, contesting the point. Savria is out of position right now, and that comes from the Snareling move that I mentioned earlier, where like the Snareling move to the right. Essentially, that allowed, or that made it so that Savria, not Savria, sorry, that Severi couldn't attack in the last turn. Fun is sitting at 7 Cinder right now, which is a lot. So basically he can do a lot and also pump a lot of units or use them twice, whatever he wants to. But we see here Pyro and Antios going for Nuisance, removing that unit from the board. And we see Sentinel. And he still has 6 Cinder left, so this is also a really, really nice Sentinel attack. Basically with Sentinel being able to kill 2 units here. It's so powerful.
You've deployed the maximum number of crew on the field.
And then with the help of Torian and Astra, he gets rid of the Phoenix. And this puts him, I think, in a really nice spot. He still has a lot of weak crews on the board, but now he still has 6 crews on the board. His opponent has 3 units left, but only on the bridge. And it also means Savria just doesn't have a lot of Cinder anymore to work with, and her dueling ability is super, super strong, right? But the problem here is, yeah, there just isn't enough Cinder, and she's very far away, so I really like the move with Savria here to block Severi.
Have a 2-point lead.
I hope I didn't confuse Severi and Savria again. That happens so often. But the next move here is also really nice. It's a really great unit that's gonna come down. It's Ovix, the goat. The push range of Ovix is crazy, and it's a really nice way to get Severi back into the fight. You can see here the push, and it's pretty good. But there's one downside with this push. If you look at the Cinder pile, now if Vellv could get to the Cinder pile and explode, it would have been insane, because look at that Cinder pile, it would have hit pretty much all of Fun's unit, right? Well, 4 of them at least. But he can't. Instead, Stitchy and Antios are now touching its Cinder pile. So Fun is gonna have a lot more Cinder in the next turn. And then this is the second last drop for Vellv. Motivator. And if you paid attention, you also know what Vellv's last drop is, because he revealed it earlier. It is gonna be Arya. So this is one of the cases where I don't know if Fun remembered it actually. No clue. But it's one of those situations where it's worth noting basically, or keeping in mind what it was, because then you know exactly how much damage your opponent can deal in the next turn, right? If you don't know what it is, also something like Crash could come down with 7 damage or whatever. So yeah, remembering that is really valuable if your opponent gives you that information.
Like a snug onesie.
With gusto.
And then we see a shield here on Savria, Stitchy and Antios run away, and you can see Fun wants to use the Cinder pile here, which I think is reasonable. He doesn't have a lot of units that can really deal a lot of damage against Ovix, since Ovix has armor. So shielding Savria here to prevent at least a little bit of damage, and preventing also the burn, makes sense. And then the Sentinel, yeah, killing Ovix, dealing a little bit of damage to Severi, though that damage doesn't really matter. At this point, Fun has 2 options. He has 4 Cinder left. Essentially, he can jump next to the Sentinel and fire the Sentinel again. The other option is to deploy a Cinder Sphere and try to use it in the next turn, or use a Cinder Sphere for double movement, and activate Stitchy again. Because Astra is a little bit low health, and she's also burning. But overall, I think, yeah. Since we know what the last unit is, Astra is not really in danger here.
Lead. Sudden death will begin on the next turn.
This move from Vellv is really nice. In this turn, he finds a way to kill Savria and Pyro actually. However, I think there's an argument to be made. In this turn for Vellv, it's best to run towards the south of the map, get Motivator out of Sentinel range if possible, and just try to keep units alive. Because Severi is so powerful, she can probably, like if she stays at a control point, all the remaining units that Astra has can't really contest it. So as soon as you get out of Sentinel range, I think you might have a chance there to still win just with the control points. And Arya could also be further in the back, potentially providing long range support, because Fun doesn't have range anymore. The double movement, of course, that Astra has, potentially a lot of movement is possible, but it's something to keep in mind. I think Vellv would have been in a better position here yet, just trying to play defensively. And now that Motivator is close, yeah, Antios can basically go for Motivator. It would have also been possible to use the Sentinel there. It doesn't really matter, both options cost you 6 Cinder.
Dad taught me to share.
The only upside of going or doing it with the Sentinel is that Astra can move once more after that, because Astra's gonna have the last hit. But I guess there's a chance that Astra might miss, so you could argue this is a tiny bit safer. It also puts Antios actually in a nice position, because now Antios can contest the bottom left point in the next turn. And we also see a very interesting Cinder Sphere here from Fun. The idea behind that Cinder Sphere is to limit Severi's movement and to make it so that her launch can't hurt too much, basically, or can't hit any important unit like Stitchy, I think. Or at least I think that was the original idea behind it. And also that she just can't go to the top. But in the end we see Stitchy just going right into launch range, I believe, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. Yeah, in the end he just moved right into a launch range, which I'm not sure. I think it would be better to move Stitchy closer to the container.
Sudden death. It is now 4 points to win.
But I don't know. In the end, Stitchy is essentially unkillable here. There are only 5 damage on the board. 3 from Arya, 2 from the lunge. I mean, there are an additional 3 from Severi's attack, but it just doesn't really matter. Sudden death has kicked in, so at this point all that matters is holding the most control points. And Vellv is in a really tough spot here now. Like, it's so hard to do anything. Especially killing the Sentinel at this stage is so hard. But I think what he should have done here is Arya probably should have tried to shoot Antios. And make sure not to be too close to Antios. And Severi probably should move down here so that you can move around that control point. Because up there you're just stuck, right? Astra sitting there, there's Stitchy, there's potentially a double heal from Astra with Stitchy. It's just so much heal. And you just can't out-damage that. Like, that's 10 health points per turn, potentially. There just isn't enough damage on the board anymore. So, at this point, the game is pretty much decided in Fun's favor. But I do think that the Fun struggled quite a bit in this game. Like, there were some times where the game didn't look too good for him.
Let us punch.
Yeah, Stitchy falling back. Also, the heal on Stitchy is really interesting. That's so that the lunge plus Arya can't kill Stitchy.
Cool, you noticed me.
Another Cinder Sphere.
You have a 1 point lead.
Essentially to block,
Sudden death.
like, block
Only
accuracy
3
and also
points
block
to
Severi's
win.
movement range.
Yeah.
And now at this point, you can see with sudden death, Fun needs 3 victory points to win. At the end of Vellv's turn, he's gonna get 2 points. And there's no way anymore for Vellv to get into range of any of those 2 points. So this is essentially the end of the game. There's not much more to say. I would like to make it super exciting, but yep, there's just not much happening anymore.
You're holding all control zones.
It's punching Astra once more, but
Your
she had enough
is
health.
low.
And then there's the concede. And that's it. GG. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a moontastic day. Goodbye.